The desperate signal. The signal that changed everything. The signal arrived at Luna Station at 3:47 hours, Galactic Standard Time. Deep Space Monitor Technician Jake Morrison was 3 hours into his night shift when the computer's warning chime cut through the station's quiet hum. He leaned forward in his chair, coffee forgotten, as streams of data filled his screens. "What the hell?" Jake muttered, fingers dancing across the controls. The signal was strong, too strong for background noise. But unlike anything in the databases, the frequency patterns were completely alien, literally. Within minutes, Commander Sarah Chen was standing behind Jake's workstation, her uniform hastily pulled on over her sleek clothes. At 42, Chen had spent her entire career in deep space communications, but she had never seen readings like these. "How long has it been transmitting?" Chen asked, her voice steady despite the early hour. "Started about 10 minutes ago. The pattern repeats every 47 seconds. Look at this." Jake highlighted sections of the waveform. "There's definitely intelligence behind it. Mathematical sequences, prime numbers, even what looks like coordinate data." Chen studied the display, her mind racing. After humanity's first contact with the Ketheri Empire 15 years ago, relations had been strained at best. The proud militaristic aliens had made it clear they considered humans inferior, barely worth acknowledging. Trade was minimal, diplomatic contact almost non-existent. "Run it through the Ketheri language matrix," Chen ordered. "If this is what I think it is, we need to know immediately." The translation. 2 hours later, Chen stood in the Luna Station command center, surrounded by her senior staff. The translated message played through the speakers, the computer's neutral voice somehow making the words even more chilling. "This is Fleet Commander Veltar of the Ketheri Evacuation Fleet Designation 7. We are stranded in the Syrian system. Our primary drives have failed. Star showing signs of imminent collapse. Over 200,000 civilians aboard. Requesting immediate assistance from any vessel capable of rescue operations. We repeat, this is an emergency transmission." The command center fell silent. Lieutenant Rodriguez, Chen's communications officer, was the first to speak. "Ma'am, our xenology reports say the Ketheri would rather die than ask humans for help." Chen nodded grimly. "Which means they're already dying." Dr. Elena Vasquez, the station's chief science officer, pulled up star charts on the main display. "The Syrian system is here, approximately 6 light-years from our current position. According to our stellar surveys from 8 years ago, the primary star was showing signs of instability, but nothing critical." 8 years is a long time in stellar evolution," Chen replied. "What's our fastest ship?" "The UES Resilience is docked at Mars Station. Captain Martinez could have her ready for departure in 12 hours. Chen made her decision. "Get me a direct line to Earth Command. We're going to need authorization for a rescue mission." The decision. Admiral Catherine Park's hologram flickered to life in Chen's office 3 hours later. The head of Earth Command looked every bit as tired as Chen felt, but her eyes were sharp with focus. "Commander, I've read your report. This is an unprecedented situation. The political implications alone. With respect, Admiral, there are 200,000 lives at stake. Politics can wait." Admiral Park was quiet for a long moment. "The Ketheri have never shown us any consideration. They've blocked our expansion into 3 different sectors, refused to share technological data, and their ambassador once called us a species barely beyond primitive. And now they're calling us for help," Chen replied. "This could change everything between our species, or it could be a trap." Chen had considered that possibility. Their desperation sounds genuine. "The signal has been continuous for 6 hours now. If this is deception, it's remarkably thorough." Admiral Park studied the data one more time. "Very well. You have authorization for a rescue mission. Take the Resilience and 2 support vessels. Captain Martins will command the mission, but I want you there as our xenology specialist." The journey. 36 hours later, the UES Resilience dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Syrian system. Captain Roberto Martinez stood on the bridge, his experienced crew manning their stations with quiet efficiency. Beside him, Commander Chen reviewed the sensor readings with growing alarm. "Captain, I'm reading massive gravitational distortions throughout the system," reported Lieutenant Park, the ship's science officer. "The primary star is definitely unstable. Preliminary scans suggest we have perhaps 72 hours before complete collapse." Martinez studied the tactical display. "Where's the Cathari fleet?" "Located, sir. They're in a decaying orbit around the fourth planet, reading multiple vessels, but their engine signatures are practically non-existent." Chen activated the communications array. "This is Commander Sarah Chen of the United Earth Ship Resilience. We received your distress signal and are here to assist. Please respond. Fleet Commander Veltar." The response came quickly, relief evident even through the translation software. "Commander Chen, this is Veltar. We did not expect humans to answer our call. We answer all distress calls, Commander. What's your situation?" "Our entire evacuation fleet suffered catastrophic engine failure during our escape from the homeworld of Cathara. 27 vessels, carrying the survivors of our planet's civil war. We have been stranded here for 6 local days. Our life support systems are failing, and we lack the resources to repair our drives." Martinez leaned toward the comm. "This is Captain Martinez. We're approaching your position. Prepare to receive our engineering teams. First contact under crisis." The first shuttle to dock with the Cathari flagship carried Chief Engineer Michael Torres and a team of 6 specialists. What they found was beyond their worst expectations. The Cathari ship was a masterpiece of engineering, sleek and powerful, but damage was evident everywhere. Scorch marks decorated the hull, and entire sections were dark and powerless. The aliens themselves were tall and elegant, with pale blue skin and large, multifaceted eyes that seemed to hold ancient wisdom. But now those eyes showed only desperation and exhaustion. Fleet Commander Veltar met them at the airlock. His ceremonial armor was cracked and stained, his normally proud bearing bent with the weight of responsibility for his people. "Captain Martinez, Commander Chen," he said, his voice carrying through a translation device. "I must admit, when we sent our distress call into the void, we did not imagine humans would be the ones to answer." Chen stepped forward. "Commander, we need to understand the extent of your technical problems. How many people are we talking about evacuating?" 214,736 souls, Veltar replied without hesitation. "The survivors of the Cathari homeworld. Our civil war has destroyed our civilization, and these ships carry all that remains of our people." Chief Torres examined the engine readouts with growing concern. "Sir, these power systems are completely fried. Whatever hit you, it was massive. The energy feedback damaged not just the drives, but the basic power distribution networks. Our engineers triggered an emergency hyperspace jump to escape pursuit," Veltar explained. "The destination was random. We never expected to emerge in a dying system." Martinez studied the technical displays. "Chief, can we repair their systems?" Torres shook his head. "Not with what we have. These are completely different technologies. But," he paused, thinking, "we might be able to jury-rig some of our own systems to interface with theirs. It would be crude, but it might give them enough power to get their life support stable." The scale of the challenge. Over the next 12 hours, human and Cathari engineers worked together for the first time in history. The language barriers were immense, the technical differences even greater. Human technology relied on fusion reactors and magnetic field manipulation. Cathari systems used crystalline energy cores and something they called harmonic resonance that human scientists barely understood. But necessity drove innovation. Dr. Vasquez worked alongside Cathari scientists, using hand gestures and mathematical equations when words failed. Chief Taurus and his team crawled through alien conduits, adapting human power couplers to alien systems through pure ingenuity and determination. Commander Chen found herself serving as more than just a translator. She moved between ships, coordinating efforts, making decisions when communication broke down. The Kethari, despite their proud nature, began to look to her for leadership in the crisis. Commander Veltar found her in the flagship's engineering section, where she was helping human technicians understand Kethari power flow patterns. "I must speak with you." They moved to a quiet observation deck, where the dying star cast an ominous orange glow through the transparent aluminum windows. "Your people are risking their lives for us," Veltar said quietly. "3 of your engineers were injured today when a power coupling exploded, yet they continue working." Chen nodded. "That's what we do. When someone needs help, we help. But we have never shown you such consideration. Our empire has treated humanity with disdain, even contempt. Why do you aid us now?" Chen was quiet for a moment, watching human and Kethari figures moving together through the ship's corridors. "Because every life has value, Commander. Human, Kethari, or otherwise. We may not be the strongest species in the galaxy or the most advanced, but we understand something that maybe others don't. And what is that? That we're all in this together. The universe is vast and dangerous and beautiful, and none of us are going to survive it alone." Growing urgency. By the end of the second day, the situation had become critical. The star's collapse was accelerating, and gravitational shears were affecting the entire system. Worse, the repairs were taking longer than expected. "We've got life support stable on 18 of the 27 ships," Torres reported to the senior staff meeting. "But their engines are still dead. At best, we can give them maneuvering thrusters, not enough for hyperspace." Captain Martinez studied the stellar data. "How long do we have?" 36 hours, maybe less," Dr. Vasquez replied. "The star's corona is already expanding. When it goes supernova, the energy wave will sterilize this entire system." Chen felt the weight of 200,000 lives pressing down on her. "What are our options?" "We could evacuate some of them to our ships," Martinez suggested. "The Resilience can carry maybe 3,000. The support ships another 2,000. That leaves over 200,000 people to die," Chen said flatly. Torres looked up from his technical displays. "There might be another way. It's crazy, but it might work." A desperate plan. The plan Torres proposed was indeed crazy. Instead of trying to repair the Kethari engines, the human ships would physically tow the alien fleet to safety. It had never been attempted on such a scale, and the stress on both sets of ships could be catastrophic. The energy requirements alone would overload our reactors. Dr. Vasquez protested. "We'd be pushing our systems far beyond safety limits." "Better than leaving them to die," Martinez replied. "Chief, can it work?" Torres spread the technical specifications across the table. "We'd need to link all 3 human ships together, pool our power systems. Then we create a gravitational field strong enough to drag the Kethari fleet with us into hyperspace. The problem is coordination. One mistake, one ship out of sync, and we all get torn apart." Chen turned to the Kethari representatives who had joined the meeting. "Commander Veltar, your people would have to trust us completely. Your ships would be completely powerless during the tow." Veltar exchanged glances with his senior officers. The proud Kethari military tradition had never involved surrendering control to aliens, especially humans, but the alternative was the death of their entire civilization. "We place ourselves in your hands," Veltar said formally. "The Kethari people will remember this trust." The final 18 hours were a blur of activity. Human and Kethari crews worked together to install the towing apparatus, massive energy cables and field generators that would link the fleets. The dying star's radiation was increasing, forcing everyone to work in protective suits. As the star's final collapse began, Commander Chen stood on the bridge of the Resilience, watching the tactical display show the positions of 30 ships. 2 species, and the hopes of an entire civilization. All ships report ready for Tau, Lieutenant Rodriguez announced. Captain Martinez took a deep breath. Begin the jump sequence. Let's bring them home. Against all odds, the Tau begins. The first few seconds of the Tau operation nearly ended in disaster. As the human ships engaged their linked gravitational field generators, the stress on the Cathari vessels was enormous. Hull plates groaned, and several ships reported structural damage before Chief Torres could adjust the field harmonics. Gravitational stress exceeding safety parameters on ships 7 through 12. Dr. Vasquez called out from her science station. If we don't balance the load, we're going to tear them apart. Commander Chen watched the displays with growing anxiety. Each Cathari ship represented thousands of lives, families huddled in emergency shelters, children who had never known a home world other than the one they'd fled. The mathematics of the situation were brutal and simple. Save them all or lose them all. Torres, can you redistribute the Tau fields manually? Captain Martinez asked over the comm. Working on it, sir, but I need more time than we have. Through the bridge viewports, the dying star was visibly expanding, its surface churning with violent energy releases. Solar radiation was already affecting the outer ship's shielding. Sir, I'm reading massive energy buildup in the star's core, reported Lieutenant Park. Estimates suggest complete collapse in 14 hours, maybe less. 'Twas then that Commander Chen noticed something unexpected on her communications display. Captain, I'm receiving multiple signals from the Cathari ships. They're not distress calls. Martinez looked over at her station. What are they? Chen's voice carried a note of amazement. They're technical specifications. The Cathari engineers are transmitting detailed schematics of their ship's structural capabilities. Load tolerances, stress points, optimal Tau attachment locations. The implications hit everyone on the bridge simultaneously. The proud Cathari, who had never shared their advanced technology with anyone, were giving humanity complete access to their most closely guarded secrets to save their own people. Cooperation under fire. With the new technical data, Chief Torres and his teams could fine-tune the gravitational Tau fields with unprecedented precision. But the work required human engineers to crawl through Cathari ship systems they had never seen before, guided only by hastily translated technical manuals and the desperate cooperation of alien crews. Dr. Elena Vasquez found herself working alongside Cathari scientist Zexami in the flagship's technical center. The alien's multiple eyes could process information at incredible speed, while Elena's human intuition allowed her to make creative leaps that pure logic couldn't reach. Your species approaches problems differently than ours, Zexami observed as they calibrated resonance frequencies. We calculate optimal solutions. You improvise. Elena wiped sweat from her forehead. They had been working for 6 straight hours, and the star's increasing radiation was making everyone's job harder. Sometimes the optimal solution isn't fast enough. Sometimes you have to make it up as you go. This approach would be considered unprofessional in Cathari society. Well, Cathari society isn't here right now, Elena replied with a tired smile. It's just us, trying to keep your people alive. Zexami's expression was hard to read through the translation software, but something in his voice seemed softer. Yes, just us. Technical miracles. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Chief Torres was struggling to synchronize the Tau fields when a young Cathari engineer named Hilary approached him with a radical suggestion. Your power systems operate on magnetic field manipulation, Larry said through his translator. Ours use crystalline resonance, but both create gravitational distortions. What if we don't fight the differences? What if we use them? Torres looked at the alien's technical diagrams. The concept was brilliant in its simplicity. Instead of trying to make human and Cathari systems work the same way, they could use the differences to create a more stable gravitational field. The human magnetic systems would provide raw power, while the Cathari crystals would provide precise control. It's never been tried, Torres said. The interaction between our technologies is completely unknown. Unknown, but not impossible, Dillery replied. And we are running out of alternatives. The implementation required splitting the human engineering teams across all 27 HFY ships, with each team working directly with alien counterparts to install hybrid interface systems. It was exhausting, dangerous work. The increasing stellar radiation was affecting both human and HFY personnel, and several engineers collapsed from exposure before protective measures could be improved. Commander Chen moved between ships, coordinating the massive effort while also serving as a diplomatic liaison. The cultural barriers were as challenging as the technical ones. HFY military hierarchy was rigid and formal, while human teams operated on informal cooperation and shared decision-making. Fleet Commander Veltar found her in the engine room of one of the evacuation ships. I must ask something of you. Chen looked up from the power coupling she was helping to install. Her uniform was stained with coolant, and her hands were covered in cuts from handling alien technology. What do you need? My people are frightened. They do not understand your technology, and they fear that in trusting humans, they are making a mistake that will destroy what remains of our civilization. Chen wiped her hands on a rag, thinking carefully. What do you want me to do? Speak to them. Explain what is happening. They need to hear from a human leader they can see working alongside them. It was a moment that would be remembered in both human and HFY history. Commander Chen, exhausted and covered in grease, addressed over 200,000 alien refugees through a ship-wide communication system. She spoke simply, without technical jargon or diplomatic language. I know you're scared, she said. I know you don't fully trust us, and honestly, that's smart. Trust should be earned. But right now, we're all in the same situation. Your star is dying, your ships are damaged, and the only way any of us get out of this alive is if we work together. She paused, looking at the HFY families visible through the ship's corridors. We're not doing this because we expect anything in return. We're doing it because it's right. Because when someone calls for help, you answer. That's what it means to be alive in this universe, that we take care of each other. The final hours. With 8 hours remaining before stellar collapse, the integrated Tau system was finally ready. But the tests revealed a new problem. The combined energy requirements were beyond what even the linked human ships could provide. We're running at 110% reactor capacity already, Torres reported. If we try to generate enough power for a full hyperspace Tau, we'll overload every system we have. Captain Martinez studied the power consumption charts. How long can we maintain this level? Maybe 20 minutes. After that, we start losing ships to reactor failure. Dr. Vasquez looked up from her calculations. A hyperspace jump to the nearest safe system will take 37 minutes. The mathematics were brutal. They could generate enough power to tow the HFY fleet, but not for long enough to reach safety. It was a problem that pure engineering couldn't solve. That's when Zexemi made an extraordinary proposal. What if the HFY ships contribute power? Chief Torres looked at him in confusion. Your reactors are dead. That's why we're towing you. Our main reactors, yes, but our emergency backup systems are still functional. Individually, they provide very little power, but 27 ships working together. Alina Vasquez ran the numbers quickly. It might work. If we can integrate their backup systems into our power grid, we might have enough energy for a full jump. But the integration would require completely rebuilding the power distribution network in the remaining hours. It was a task that would normally take weeks, and they had to do it while the star was literally falling apart around them. A new kind of teamwork. What happened in those final hours became legendary among both species. Human and HFY engineers worked together with a coordination and trust that neither species had ever achieved with aliens before. Exhaustion was ignored, safety protocols were pushed to their limits, and cultural differences were set aside in the face of mutual survival. Commander Chen found herself crawling through conduits alongside Ketheri technicians, their multiple hands able to work in spaces too small for human engineers. Chief Torres worked directly with Fleet Commander Veltar, the proud military leader taking orders from a human engineer without question. 5 minutes to stellar collapse, Dr. Vasquez announced. All ships report ready for jump. Chen made her way back to the Resilience's bridge, her uniform torn and her face smeared with alien coolant. Captain Martinez looked at her with respect that went beyond mere military courtesy. Commander, the Ketheri fleet is requesting you coordinate the jump sequence. Chen felt the weight of the moment. 2 species, 30 ships, hundreds of thousands of lives, all depending on the next few minutes. All ships, this is Chen. Stand by for jump initiation. The tactical display showed the combined fleet, human and Ketheri ships linked by energy fields and shared purpose. Behind them, the star began its final collapse, the energy wave that would sterilize the system already building. Jump field generators online, Torres reported. Power levels holding steady. Ketheri backup systems integrated and contributing, added Zexami from his station. Chen took a deep breath. All ships, jump in 3, 2, 1, engage. The Great Escape. The jump was unlike anything either species had ever experienced. The combined gravitational field created by 30 ships working together tore a hole in spacetime large enough to accommodate the entire fleet. But the energy requirements were enormous, and the stress on every system was beyond design limits. For 37 minutes, the combined fleet hurtled through hyperspace while behind them. The Syrian star exploded in a burst of energy that would be visible from neighboring systems for months. Emergency alarms sounded on every ship as reactors overheated, structural supports strained, and life support systems struggled to cope. Hull stress exceeding safe limits on multiple vessels, Lieutenant Park reported. But we're holding together. Commander Chen watched the countdown timer tick toward 0. 37 minutes had never seemed so long. Around her, the bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency, monitoring systems that were being pushed far beyond their design specifications. 10 seconds to jump completion, Dr. Vasquez announced. The fleet dropped out of hyperspace near the human colony of New Geneva, their emergency destination. As the tactical display updated, showing all 30 ships had made the jump successfully, a cheer went up from every bridge. But the celebration was brief. Several ships were reporting critical system failures, and the Ketheri vessels were still dependent on human power systems. The immediate crisis was over, but the work was far from done. New beginnings. In the weeks that followed, the New Geneva system became the site of the largest humanitarian effort in human history. The Ketheri refugees were provided with temporary habitats, while their ships underwent extensive repairs. But more than just technology was being rebuilt. Fleet Commander Veltar found Commander Chen in the Human Diplomatic Facility, where she was coordinating the long-term refugee assistance program. Commander, I have come to express the formal gratitude of the Ketheri people, he said. But words seem insufficient for what your species has done. Chen looked up from her reports. We did what anyone should do. You were in trouble, and we helped. No, Veltar replied firmly. What you did was extraordinary. You risked everything for people who had shown you no kindness. You shared your most advanced technology with those who had refused to share theirs. You treated our refugees not as burdens, but as people deserving of rescue. He paused, his large eyes reflecting something that might have been tears. The Ketheri Empire may be gone, but the Ketheri people live because of human compassion. This debt can never be repaid, but it will never be forgotten. The formal alliance between humanity and the Ketheri survivors was signed 6 months later. But the real alliance had been forged in the depths of space, in the desperate hours when 2 species worked together against impossible odds. Chief Torres and Dilleri continued their collaboration, developing hybrid technologies that surpassed anything either species had achieved alone. Dr. Vasquez and Zexami established the first interspecies research institute, and Commander Chen found herself serving as the first human ambassador to the Ketheri Provisional Government. Legacy of compassion. Years later, when historians wrote about the Xerian rescue, they would focus on the technical achievements. The first successful multi-species fleet TOW, the development of hybrid gravitational systems, the largest emergency evacuation in galactic history. But those who were there remembered something else. They remembered the moment when differences in technology, culture, and biology became less important than the simple recognition that all thinking beings deserved a chance to live. They remembered how trust could be built not through treaties or negotiations, but through shared work toward a common goal. The Ketheri refugees eventually established a new homeworld, but many chose to remain in human space, working alongside the species that had saved them. Their children grew up bilingual and bicultural, as comfortable with human informality as with Ketheri ceremony. And when other species heard the story of how humanity had risked everything to save former enemies, the galaxy's perception of the young human civilization began to change. They were still not the strongest or most advanced species, but they had demonstrated something perhaps more valuable: the willingness to help others, even at great cost to themselves. Commander Sarah Chen, now Admiral Chen, often reflected on those desperate days in the Xerian system. The technical challenges had been enormous, the risks had been real, and the outcome had been far from certain. But in the end, the most important achievement had been the simplest. When someone called for help, humanity had answered. In a universe that could be cold and hostile and indifferent, that made all the difference. The call continues. The rescue of the Ketheri fleet became more than just a historical event. It became a defining moment for human civilization. It established humanity's reputation as a species that would answer distress calls regardless of political considerations, technological differences, or past conflicts. Within 5 years, 3 other species had requested human assistance in emergency situations. Each time, the response was the same. If someone needed help, humanity would find a way to provide it. The galaxy had learned that while humans might not be the most advanced species among the stars, they understood something that many others had forgotten in their climb to technological supremacy. They understood that in the vast darkness of space, all life was precious, and all beings deserved compassion.